you put everything you've got into the land. It's about heritage, hard work, and the promise of a good harvest. We understand that commitment. Our precision aerial application saves you valuable time, giving you more hours back to spend with the ones who matter most. We help you maximize yields and protect your crops, season after season. Advanced technology, efficient coverage, and a dedication to your success. Bradley Air Spray. Precision mapping and professional application. Trust the experts to protect your yield.
Hi, I'm Barry McKeegan at Denham Chrysler Jeep. You might remember me from such commercials as No Bull Sale or Spin to Win. Well, I'm back, and so is the brand new 2026 Jeep Cherokee, with an incredible driving range of over 800 kilometers on a single tank. And you don't have to plug it in. The all-new Cherokee offers more room, outstanding safety features, including standard active driving assist and unsurpassed in-class towing. See and drive the all-new 2026 Jeep Cherokee today. We'd love to see you, and here at Denham Chrysler, we're ready to help you now and for every mile down the road.
Local people. Local news and events. Local sports. Local matters. For all things Lloydminster and area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Welcome to Live with Kurt Price, presented by Harris Electric. Celebrate Julymas with Harris Electric. Save on permanent and decorative lighting for your home, cabin, acreage, or business. Book your summer installation by July 31st to have it by Christmas, and use promo code KURT for an extra 5% off. You'll enjoy holiday displays, game day colors, and special occasions year-round. Call Harris Electric today. Well, we've got two mayors here today joining us. We are pleased to be joined by Gerald Aalbers, Mayor of the City of Lloydminster, and Robert Snow, Mayor of Vermilion of Alberta. So this is pretty exciting for us, and also joining us here today to talk about why it makes so much sense to get Via Rail on this northern sort of line instead of the southern line. So we'll find out more about that here in a few minutes with our two mayors. Caregivers are some of the most important people in our lives, and often the most important people that are overlooked at times. So Cupcakes for Caregivers is an opportunity to treat our caregivers to a great snack and also say thank you to them as well. We're going to head out later this week to deliver more cupcakes, but you might instantly think of nurses and doctors, but it also goes further than that. Caregivers are often family members that take care of loved ones and keep them in their home, take them to appointments, even help them get dressed each day and fed. If there's a special caregiver in your life that you'd like to thank, you can nominate them today by sending an email to livewithkurtprice@gmail.com. Cupcakes for Caregivers is presented by Sobeys in Lloydminster and Umbrella Marketing and Design. It's just a great way to say thank you with a dozen cupcakes delivered right to them. Extreme relay races are back in Lloydminster this Saturday night at Halstead Downs. The gates open at 6, the races start at 7, and Jackie Tomile, general manager of the Lloydminster exhibition, told us these races help to make the sport more and more competitive and also popular.
5 years ago, I approached Grand Prairie and Medicine Hat and said, hey guys, can we get a 3-stop tour going? And we did. So we approached Travel Alberta. We said, we want to do this. This is a great initiative. So now our aggregate winner out of the 3 stops, they get an invite to Calgary and they get a buckle and they get all these things. So we put that together as Ag Societies to help, hopefully help expose the sport and get more fans and get more buy-in. And yeah, you're right. The teams are getting better and better and better. The horses are getting better and better and better. And it's just an incredible sport.
Now, speaking of the Lloyd X, there's another Chase the Ace draw at the exhibition tomorrow night. There are now 38 cards remaining in the deck and a jackpot over $42,000 and rising. You can purchase your ticket by visiting the Lloyd X office in person. Go to lloydx.com or e-transfer to Chase the Ace at lloydx.com and use the password CTALEX while also including your name, your number, and your email. You do not have to be present to win. Tickets start at just $10, 3 for $25, 8 for $50, or 20 tickets for $100. Heritage Day returns to Weaver Heritage Park on Monday, August the 3rd with a free pancake breakfast, family activities, an antique tractor parade, and there's also now a call for food vendors, farmers market vendors, and volunteers. If you'd like to help out or open a booth there or a food booth, go to lloydminster.ca/Heritage Day to get the details. It's time now for the Lloydminster Look Back. The Lloydminster Look Back is brought to you by Exhaust Masters. Exhaust Masters is your first call for exhaust and undercarriage performance upgrades and repair in Lloydminster and area. Exhaust Masters is your go-to for oilfield and industrial exhaust needs. And with the Vermilion Fair back this week and celebrating 120 years, we take a peek at the Vermilion Fair back in 1999.
The day started windy and overcast, and although the winds wouldn't die, the clouds did clear the way for the parade. This year's theme is the end of the century. Floats were judged in several different categories.
Okay, we're judging kids' bikes and kids' ponies, decorated bikes and decorated cars. Things we're looking for: originality, following the theme. The theme is end of the century.
Categories include comic, commercial, and organizations, and all the winners had their own reason for entering.
There was just something to do for the grandchildren, and I got 7 of them here, and so they kind of enjoyed this little train ride, and kept adding to it as the family kept growing. And it was here for the older person pulling the new generation into a new millennium.
And if you happen to miss all the action at this morning's parade, don't despair. Organizers say there's still plenty to see and do here at the Vermilion Fair.
We've got a lot of the same thing. We got our chuck wagon chariots, our night show, and probably one of the most unique things that I haven't had at the fair for other years is we've got on Saturday some square dancers on horseback.
We have an excellent selection of consumer items, everything from people who are looking to build a house to having water conditioners to buying a subscription at the Standard to visiting with the Salvation Army and talking to them about their services that they offer.
Goulet says every year the fair attracts more and more retailers.
Most of our booths, I think, are from out of town, safe to say. Yeah, so new products for people to look at.
The Vermilion Fair also offers a full midway and a variety of agricultural displays. Alyssa Caldwell, NewsHour.
When disaster strikes, restoring your home is only part of the job for BioClean Disaster Services. Restoring your peace of mind matters just as much as restoring your home. At BioClean Disaster Services, they know you're not just dealing with water or wind or fire damage. You're dealing with one of the most stressful days of your life. And that's why the team of BioClean Disaster Services is going to listen to you and then explain every step to treat your home or your business with respect and help you get your life back. BioClean Disaster Services at 1-833-246-8326. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got 2 mayors, Vermilion and Lloydminster. Gerald Aalbers and Robert Snow are here and ready to go.
Home, it's where people look out for each other. It's where we live, where we work, and it's where we choose to raise our families. For over 75 years, Harris Electric has been more than just a contractor. We've been your neighbors, so when you need us, we look out for you. We show up fast and do the job right. We're in the stands, we're in the schools, we power this community. Because here in Lloydminster, it's our home too.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
At Lloydminster and District Co-op, membership matters more. Because being part of a co-op means you're connected to something bigger than yourself. From long-held legacy by those who built our communities, to people you call family, friends, and neighbors. When you're a Lloyd Co-op member, you're an owner in a local business that prides itself on purpose alongside profit. You earn cash back, you help support causes that matter most, and you're building a better way of life for the next generation. Membership matters more.
A good night's sleep starts with the right mattress, and you'll find a great selection at Border City Furniture. From plush to firm and everything in between, we carry quality mattresses to fit your comfort level and budget. Looking at a new bedroom set? Pair it with a new mattress. Updating your guest room? Start with a new mattress. Just tired of waking up sore? It might be time for a new mattress. And while you're here, browse our selection of sectionals, sofa sets, dining furniture, and recliners. For better sleep and quality Canadian-made furniture, visit Border City Furniture, your locally owned furniture store in downtown Lloydminster. Superior Water specializes in nothing but water. And with over 23 years in the business, they're proud and confident that their water and their service is superior. For iron filters, water softeners, reverse osmosis distillers, chlorine removal, and H2S odor removal, give Superior Water a call today. 780-875-6636 or stop and see them at their 57th Avenue location right beside Sheepskin Loft, and stay hydrated with pure, clean water. I drink Superior Water because I like the taste, and after all, it is superior water. Well, welcome back to Live with Kurt Price, presented by Harris Electric. A special treat today with two mayors on the show. We have the mayor of Vermilion with us, Robert Snow is here, and the mayor of Lloydminster, Mr. Gerald Aalbers, is here. So we're excited to have you guys here. This is something special for us. And have you guys ever done anything like this before?
No, this is going to be the first time.
This is the first time.
Yeah, maybe we could begin the mayor's hour or something.
I think we should have a mayor's hour.
I like
Hey,
it.
we'd be welcome to that.
Okay.
And we'll ask viewers for questions.
Oh, well, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Thanks, Robert, because it was Robert's idea. He said, I'd love to do this, to talk about what's happening or what you'd like to see happen with Via Rail. When did this Via Rail, when did this become sort of a thing that, hey, we should get the Via Rail line coming through Lloydminster? We need, it makes more sense to have it here. Like a few years ago, this has been working on,
a few years
right?
ago. So I'll take the lead on this one.
Absolutely.
So about 8-9 years ago, working with the former mayor of Vermilion, former mayor of North Battleford, and some other mayors along the line, we came together in a meeting and discussed the idea. And somebody said, that's a pretty good idea. So there was some work done through what turned out to be a report that we prepared, or a proposal prepared by the former mayor of North Battleford, Ryan Bader. It was done being mayor, and Ryan had him and I had worked on this quite a bit. And we put together a proposal. We started having conversations with multiple people, because this would have an effect on multiple organizations, multiple people, including those that do use that rail currently at Viking, Wainwright, Bigger as an example, Watrous, Saskatoon from that. So we started the conversation, and we're at a point today that we're hoping to have a meeting with the Federal Minister of Transport, because we have met with Via Rail. And to say the least, we were very disappointed from their perspective. As a Crown corporation responsible to the taxpayers of Canada, they didn't have any real good response to trying to become more efficient, more effective, and more cost effective. And that's big parts of what we can offer with the proposal.
Where would it split off, Gerald? Would Bigger still be on that line?
No, it wouldn't. So I'll just give a little railroad background. The CN main line, let's go back even further. Let's talk about, where did Via Rail come from? Via Rail was a part of the federal government when the federal government had made a majority interest in CN Rail, if not all the interest. They privatized CN. CN went out in the stock market, and where you could buy shares in CN Rail. At the same time, I understand, and again, I wasn't there, but Via was promised running rights on CN track. That was part of the arrangement. CN accepted that. They pay to use the CN track. They use the CN main line from Vancouver to Toronto. Okay, this is where our proposal comes into effect. We propose, it's called the Canadian, that travels twice a week between Vancouver and Toronto. Usually, and again, I don't have the exact statistics, but very often 4 days late. I actually had someone tell me that last week when we were discussing this very proposal in Calgary. Yeah, I took the train. We were 4 days late getting to Toronto. I said, oh, okay, and explained why we were talking about it. And they said, yeah, we always were parked on sidings letting freight trains go by. So our proposal is to take the train out of Edmonton, north of Fort Saskatchewan, and across what's known as the CN Prairie North line, which is our line. It's CN's secondary line across the prairies. We propose taking it all the way to Kenora, then south through Yorkton into Melville. So it takes it out of a stretch. It's not quite the Bermuda Triangle, but trains get lost somewhere between Melville and Saskatoon mainly because of the amount of traffic that's in that area. And CN's doing the best job they can with what they have, but at the same token, when you're a secondary user of the track, you don't have priority. So often the Via Rail gets pushed to the side and the freight trains go through, high commodity value trains and different things like that. So usage, about 40 plus trains a day on the CN main line, I understand, going east-west any one time throughout a 24-hour period. We average between 4 to 6, occasionally up to 8. We've seen a little bit more traffic over the summer, and I think Mayor Snow's likely seen it as well. When we see a container train come through town, that's not a normal train. So that's been diverted off the main because they're doing some work. And I think, Kurt, your family's got some history in the rail. You can relate to that. The summertime is when you fix the rails, no different than when we fix streets. You can't fix rail unless it's a very significant major issue in the wintertime. It's summertime. So those crews are trying to squeeze in during their day on the main line any tie replacement, new rails, maintenance work that's of significance that takes a lot of equipment and men. So that's where that we'll see a little bit more traffic this way from that perspective. But it's really to try and help free up, because in the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to see the largest potash mine in the world, not in Canada, in the world, come online with BHP. And they're double tracked. They've got track from CN and they've got track to CP because they're going to use the market forces they have. But that's going to add another 2 trains, potentially a day, if not every couple of days, to the main line already headed to port, because that's the thing. We're landlocked and everything has to move out of our commodities.
So I grew up on that line. I grew up in Landis, Saskatchewan. So my grandfather worked for the Canadian National Railway. My dad worked for Canadian National Railway. And after a while living in Landis, Saskatchewan, you don't even hear the train anymore. It comes through so often, and you can sleep through it at night. Mm-hmm. Our house would rattle. The house moves when the train goes through. We're that close to the tracks, and when they blow the horn, you think it'll wake everybody up, but you get so used to it that it goes right through. So I know how busy that line is. Yeah. Like that is a very busy line. Robert, when you came on board, because you're still fairly new at this position, why did this become something that you wanted to focus on?
I guess first I didn't know the backstory that our communities were already looking at it many years ago, but there's a couple of reasons. The first and foremost, I know when the city of Lloydminster through Mayor Aalbers reached out and said, this is something that's important to us and we'd like your support. We always appreciate the city's and the mayor's regional approach and looking at, and even in discussions here today, it's not, nowhere in this conversation did it come up, hey, it's better for Lloydminster or it's better for Vermilion. We're looking at this regional, how does it improve the whole system? That's the approach that I adhere to as well. I think regional approach is the way we have to be as communities, especially in eastern rural Alberta. And so when he brought it to us, this is something that I think we should partner with, and it benefits not just our 2 communities, but the greater region. And so our council was very excited to work with the city of Lloydminster. And so that, oddly enough, was the very first kind of key that made us want to do it, is just partnering with our neighbors. But then the perceived value too, right? Like it does free up the south line there, and it does make a lot more sense to have the line that's not being used as much have Via go through. And from someone who's used Via many times when I lived in Edmonton, we would always pack up the family and take it out to Ontario to visit my family. Yeah, I can attest to that line is very busy, and you're pulling over to rightfully let the freight go through, right? Because that is the priority of the line. And so if we have a south line that's busy and a north line that's arguably not as busy, it just makes a lot more sense, right? And there is also, I would say, a huge value of having VIA go through our communities.
And you mentioned, Gerald, it's only going to get busier.
Well, all the expectations are. We're seeing, I look at the grain production, canola production, that we're growing more crop on the acres that we have. Farming technology is just continuously improving, so that's beneficial. Our economy in this country is based on shipping. We're an export nation. We're talking oil, gas, LNG, all those things. So if we're not putting pipelines in the ground, which we're hearing that could be a whole different conversation, but you look out at Lashburn, there's a trainload of oil basically moving out daily or every 2 days out of that, and that's now going down the Prairie North line, which will enter the CN main, the rail system somewhere along the line. So we're going to see rail usage. There's a cost factor, and the railroads know that. They've got a cost per mile to run. A lot of commodities continue to move on rail, and they're going to continue to grow that business because that's their business, right? And from VIA's perspective, we were really hoping they'd see the value of opening up the marketplace for 120,000 potential more riders. As Mayor Snow said, he did it in Edmonton. For us, we've got to drive to Wainwright or to whatever point you want to get on in Saskatchewan, to be at Unity or bigger if you're in Saskatoon. We also saw, talking to our Indigenous neighbors, they saw a huge opportunity because when the buses went away, and we know what happened in Saskatchewan and Greyhound, Saskatchewan STC, the Saskatchewan Transportation Company, went away, Greyhound left. How did people that may want access have public transportation? And that was the rail would be a very good, logical answer to that.
Robert, have you seen the report?
I believe I have. I can't recall verbatim what's on it, but I had a chance to look at it. Yeah.
So the Indigenous community was very much in favor of this as well.
Yeah.
So they were. So we have about 27 First Nations that are closer to the Prairie North than the 9 that are served by the main line of CN. So, excuse me, there was Indigenous transportation, but what's really interesting in doing a little research, 1 in 3 foreign visitors to Canada from Europe or Asia want an Indigenous experience. Everybody remembers the old Western movies, right? Cowboys and Indians and things like that. Well, we've moved a long ways. We're going to be hosting, Onion Lake's going to be hosting their powwow. 30,000 plus guests or dancers coming to an international powwow. Again, we've hosted one here at the Synovus Energy Hub. People want to experience that. And I believe that we've got an untouched resource of Indigenous businesses that could get started and grow. And but they have to bring the tourists here. So if the tourists to get here, it would help if the rail was here or close to it. North Battleford, ourselves, a number of First Nations, Vermilion, Vegreville, with the Métis crossing that's been built and developed. The opportunity is there. We just need to bring the tourists here. But the tourists need to know they can get here, plus they need to know they can get out, and that hopefully their time is more reliable if we can help via rail be a little more efficient. So the one I like to pose with people, could you imagine being a European or Asian visitor to Canada, waking up in a teepee at Onion Lake to the smell of fresh bannock in the morning, and you walk out and there's buffalo grazing around you? Like that, I don't know if that could be any more authentic to what happened with the Indigenous population and life on the prairies, as an example. The North Saskatchewan River is a great river. It can be canoed. It's a little high right now, as we know, with the flow, but there's a relationship with First Nations and the rivers. There's First Nations and trapping. There's just so many pieces, and they could experience that firsthand. So, but why would you build a business if you don't have any customers? And I think that's what I've heard from some of the First Nation entrepreneurs and in the conversation. So we've had great support from Onion Lake. Again, and then I'll add SIGA, the Saskatchewan Indian Gaming Authority, has 3 casinos along our route. They're excited because people that travel who have some money, and they'd love to have that opportunity to have that experience and connection that way. So there's economic value to the whole piece to it from that perspective. And if you're back to Via Rail, if you're on time, people will use you. When you're 4 days late to Toronto and you're an international guest, you're going to get a bad flavor in your mouth leaving Canada saying, oh yeah, I had to change my airline tickets, and because I didn't know how late we were going to be. They said we would be a couple days late. Now we're 4 days late. Sometimes it's a couple hours, sometimes it's 4 days. How do you plan your travel arrangement, especially when you're doing international travel?
No, you go ahead.
Just on the tourism side, like all of our municipalities work together right now. We have the Vermilion River Regional Alliance, and we always talk about tourism. And oftentimes when we have our meetings, we'll go to a museum in one community or a golf club at another community. And most of us work with groups like Take It to the Lakes or Go East of Edmonton. And you think all these areas that you can connect through a train and have people that can get on and off and stop at one area and experience what's going on in Manville, come up to Lloydminster experience and have that experience like Mayor Aalbers talked about. And it opens up a broader brush for tourism and absolutely, with the Europeans, but I'd argue a lot of Easterners from Canada also, they hear about the prairies, and we always talk about the Rockies, but when you actually stop and you look at the Indigenous history and then just the prairie history as well, going down to Paradise Valley and seeing the museum that's in a grain elevator, and just having that line and giving access to people so they can actually do more tourism in the region, it's huge for economic growth, right? It draws people to our communities and to our region, and that's exactly what we want.
Is tourism the main reason that you guys would like to see it come through Lloydminster and Vermilion?
I think that it plays in the part. I think it's just it's multi-purpose, having the train come, right? It is tourism. It's economic development, which they go hand in hand. You can put economic development and tourism, whichever order you want. The Indigenous piece, that both reconciliation for economic development, reconciliation for transportation, things like that, those options. So there's multiple reasons. I personally can't say it's for one particular reason, other than I will say as a taxpayer, a federal taxpayer, and I think we're all, most of your listeners, federal taxpayers, you want the best bang for your buck. Via Rail is a federally subsidized Crown corporation. They don't make money. So if we can do anything at all to improve their financial bottom line and decrease the draw on federal tax money, I'd rather see it come to us as municipal leaders to help build infrastructure in our communities and enhance the community growth, rather than dumping it into something where they're not open to conversation. And I can say we met with Via Rail, and I will defend them a little bit, saying I appreciate they came to Lloydminster a number of years ago, but the arguments they made we could contradict every one of them. That's the challenge. They tell us, so I'll be fair to Via Rail. They travel the CN main line because it's signaled every 2 miles. And you've likely seen those signals, Kurt. Yep. Red, yellow, and blue. Red, yellow, and green.
I know about those from my dad.
Yeah. I'm sure you do. And I learned a lot just being at the Walker Yard recently with our FCM conference in Edmonton. I spent a couple hours at CN's Walker Yard on a tour that they offered. But at the end of the day, I also saw the CN Control Center that's also at the Walker Yard. And my goodness, they know where every train is basically in Canada, signaled or unsignaled. The big thing is that Via Rail says we don't travel down unsignaled line. But I hate to remind them, they travel from Winnipeg to Churchill on unsignaled line. Yes, maybe there's only 2 trains a day, if there may be even 2 trains a day. They also travel to Halifax from Toronto, and I understand that line's not signaled. So that's the first argument. They're telling us they're full. They have no more space. And I went, really? They have no more space in the train. So can you not find an extra used car somewhere to make room on the train? Just the arguments that they made were really frustrating and disappointing. So our route is, and why this kind of made news, was letters of support from various municipalities, organizations, grain growers, grain companies, business people, First Nations, SIGA, the list long and endless. I just received one from Unifor, a union that's quite involved in Via Rail. They totally support it, and they've reaching out to all their fellow unions that have membership that serves the rail and says, yeah, this is an important step, because they're looking at it from job perspectives, right? It's important. It creates some jobs, and they want to try to ensure those jobs are available to their members. So that's what we're trying to gather up. We've met with the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Transport, Mike Callaway. Appreciate the meeting in Ottawa. And then I had a meeting with Buckley Belanger, who is the Minister of State in Saskatchewan, and shared that information, trying to get a meeting with Minister Eleanor Ochesky in Edmonton to share this with her, because she's with Prairie Kansas, which affects us. And then at the end of the day, get in front of Minister McKinnon and hopefully convince him that there's a business case here that needs to be further studied. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but if we don't keep moving it forward, and it's really in the hands of the federal government, because they're writing the check to Via Rail and saying, here you go, operate. All we're asking for is, hey, I'm saying as a taxpayer, I'm okay with that, but let's try and be a little more efficient. And here's one of the efficiencies. And I would hope that as two mayors and anybody else, when somebody comes to you and says, I think there's an opportunity to be a little more efficient, we'd take the time and listen to it, study it, and come back. But we don't believe that's truly happened at Via Rail, because it's been an uphill battle dealing with Montreal.
We're going to take a short break. I want to ask about where CN stands on this. So we'll ask about where CN stands and how you can help, and really where we go from here. We'll be right back on Live with Kurt Price, presented by Harris Electric.
Summer is here, and that means campouts, cookouts, backyard barbecues, and bacon breakfast. And when it comes to feeding your family, Diamond 7 Meats is right there with you. Diamond 7 Meats proudly provides locally sourced meats with no additives or fillers, just great tasting steaks, juicy burgers, tender pork chops, and some of the best smokies you'll ever roast over the fire. Plus, delicious beef jerky for those summer road trips. We're family owned and operated. Diamond 7 Meats, serving local families with quality products and the protein you need to fuel those busy summer days.
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years. It's more than just taxes at LNA CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at LNA CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. LNA CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
Thinking about moving but waiting for your home to sell? You may not have to. At Wellings, your next chapter doesn't need to wait for a sold sign. Move into Wellings of Lloydminster this summer and save up to $6,000 while your home sale is underway. You'll have the comfort of knowing your new home is ready when you are. Why put life on hold? Wellings, the right move right now. Visit wellingsoflloydminster.com for the details. So one of the questions is, would CN be in favor of this? And is it just Via Rail? Would CN have a say in this? And because it sounds like it would be better off for Canadian National Railway to free up that line and for more cargo than have the Via Rail on it.
That's really interesting, and I don't want to comment directly on behalf of CN because I don't speak for CN. We've had conversations with numerous people within CN, and certainly I think the concept makes sense. This is where, if I can use the word, it gets political because they're in a business. They would be, as far as what we've seen, are revenue neutral. They get trackage paid on the main. They'd get trackage paid if they came down the Prairie North line. But in the same token, there's some very serious discussions at a national level with Via Rail and CN. And I don't think those conversations are being as gracious as the ones we're having today because of some challenges that are involved at the federal government. So this is a somewhat, we get caught in politically charged affairs in Eastern Canada, have impacts in Western Canada. And here's another one of those that, people, if you ask the average person in Lloydminster, did you know we still have passenger rail? And they're going to go, didn't think so. Do you have it here? No. And I would, even people on the main line may not even realize because it comes through late at night, usually in the dark and things like that. So we don't have CN has not come out officially one way or another. And I understand why, because there is some challenges. They're navigating some things with Via Rail in Eastern Canada that have impacts in Western Canada, and they're not going to jump up and down. I truly believe in conversations that I think they hear us, they understand it. But like I say, there's more to this puzzle than our simple little proposal in perspective when you're dealing with a national company that has now shareholders, public company, works very closely with the federal government because the federal government has direct influence. There's a Railway Act. There's there's two private companies in Canada that I'm aware of that have their own police force, one CN and one CPKC. So they've been around a very long time. The history. It's just we could talk about why we don't have an overpass. I won't say why they have an overpass, but I'm glad they do. But but there's many facets to rail. So we're just scratching the surface on one portion of that.
Well, and and even all of the complexities with rail, it's a slow process. Pardon the pun. It's a slow train to move, right? But I think one of the challenges is obviously. Communities like ours see a value in that. I would argue communities that have the South Line would see a different view, right? But I think the important takeaway, and you'd asked earlier, is tourism one of the main drivers? I think the main driver has to be the perceived value, not just for our communities, right? Because every community is going to look to how to better their communities and opportunities for tourism, but showing that value and Mayor Aalbers has pointed it out a few times here, just opening up the South Line because it is getting busier. We know there's a push in our province and across the country to access rail more. That seems to be a trend that's coming back, and we know that line is already busy and there's delays. Showing that perceived value of why that North Line makes more sense. I think that's how you get that message and that ball rolling, right? Because everything's going to take time. There's the politics side of it, which is like arguably very slow typically, and then there's the bureaucracy side of it as well, and then just kind of change is never something that people, if it's working, why change it, is right. Often the conversation. But I think the conversation needs to be changed to, it might be working, but are we getting the most efficiency out of this? And because if we're more efficient, it can be used more, cost less, perceived value goes up. And just showing that message, I think, is how we work with folks at CN and folks in the federal government as well.
So would a community like Wainwright be opposed to this because they're seeing tourism dollars? Like they don't really have, I'm just trying to think, they don't really have the Indigenous communities as close to Wainwright sort of thing, right?
So, there was some perceived concern from Wainwright, which, because again, that's, no one likes to lose a service they have. The service is there. What's interesting, and I'll switch back to Via, when we asked Via for numbers, because we were kind of curious as the group that was working on this, what kind of numbers do we see? They will not share it with us. Our MPs have gone and they have not been able to get those numbers through Freedom of Information because VIA claims it's proprietary information. They're a monopoly, so I don't know why you need to be a monopoly and have proprietary information, but that's to be there. We've had conversations with both the MD of Wainwright and the town of Wainwright. Talked to the mayor of Viking because that's another stop, and I did make a point of calling the former mayor or mayors at the time when we were starting to get a little more power behind this and rolling forward. There was concern expressed. They didn't want to give it up a service, but I think they also, in talking to some folks, I think they understand that the CN main line is not going away. And it's just like you said, in Landis, Bigger is a designated stop. Yep. Wainwright's a designated stop. That's never going to go away. There's more freight trains going through Wainwright or Bigger. Is that going to be? It should be popular because now I see CN's actually acquired the very permanent residence in Wainwright. They purchased a former motel, and it's now the CN Wainwright designated stop. So because of the train crews and things like that. So the VIA, I don't think would have any significant effect other than you just lose that as a tourism opportunity. But again, no one that has been able to share with our group any tourism information from that perspective. And again, I asked our MPs to follow up, and they said they couldn't get it. So it's frustrating.
How much of a financial impact are we talking about?
For VIA or for us?
for VIA, for us. For us, if we did get that VIA.
So this is really interesting. Let's go to Bigger, because I haven't been to Bigger lately, but the pictures of the VIA facility in Bigger are not, you wouldn't want to show those to anybody because it's a condemned building now because they don't use it. And I think they basically have some sort of platform. In Unity, Saskatchewan, I believe it's a bus stop, that's like a glass bus stop and a little wooden platform. So, a couple $1,000s is basically what it would cost, I believe, to put something together. Now, there may be a little more significance in Norman, Saskatchewan. And again, that's to be determined with Via Rail, if that's where we ended up, because it would no longer go into Saskatoon. Basically, there's 6 miles that separate Saskatoon and Norman. And from the south end of the Chapel Yard, you have to drive right across the entire city to get to Wanuskewin. Another one of those First Nations opportunities that are in the north end that's closer to Warman. We haven't got that far because we don't believe it's going to be huge. And excuse me, working with Prairie Cans, and if the federal government sees value in this, we hope that if they can cost share 50% would be terrific. But we're talking a couple $1,000s up to $10,000 mark, depending how beautiful you want to make it. Because if it's simply, this is where the train stops and what happens, and this is the other piece I should mention for people, the train doesn't stop in Viking, Wainwright, Bigger, Unity, unless someone has bought a ticket 48 hours before, I understand, or when they get on a train declared that they need to stop to get off, the train whistles through. It stops in Edmonton and Saskatoon guaranteed. Otherwise, it whistles through every community. And it would be no different for us if it was to move north. But knowing that it's there, that's the piece that's where you build the business model.
So the cost would be minimal. But what about the financial gain for us?
Well, I guess anytime we can attract tourism dollars to our communities and region, as Mayor Snow talked about, that's really the region. Because if somebody landed here, they might stay, as an example, the Alberta across the track, close, been renovated. And then a tourist operator comes from Onion Lake with a 16-passenger van, picks them up the next morning, takes them out for 3 days, brings them back. They stay a night at the hotel again, and they want to go to the casino. And then they get on the next train, or depending on when the frequency of the trains, or they may, there's other modes of transportation as well. Take it on and then pick up the train again in Edmonton or Saskatoon if that's what they so choose. It's tourism dollars, and those dollars are new dollars to our community because those are not dollars. And tourism, we've seen different events from the Saskatchewan Summer Games. We've had, the Joss Ross concert. Those are all new dollars because people went out for supper. They stayed in a motel. Then they got here and then they went shopping. Those are new dollars. So it grows our GDP, grows our local economy. We don't have people often, how do you measure? We don't have a tax, so we can't tell you how many dollars actually get spent in a local community. And I don't want to, again, go down the tax route, but that's the federal government, provincial government know, but do they actually figure that out? I don't know, but there is a calculation when someone comes to town based on spending habits. They produce so many dollars, and I don't want to quote a number because I don't have that one off the top of my head from our economic development team. But there's you got that one off the top?
No, off the top.
No, I didn't want to put it like I say, but there's value.
And the value of the existing tourism. But I think that's a great point of, there can be businesses started up that shuttle people from the community with the train stop out into a different community for tourism. And we see similar things, and I know you guys see it here as well, even for hunting season.
Absolutely.
Outfitters come in and they're shuttled off to whatever camp they're going to, and they enjoy their time in our region. So it just opens up so many opportunities, right? But the challenge with opportunities is there is no this will come, right? I think one of our biggest roles as elected officials and with our city and town administration is to build the opportunity, and then it's up to the developers and the business owners to capitalize on that and say, hey, now that this is here, now that we have a train going through, what can we actually do? Can we build shuttles out to Indigenous communities for that Indigenous experience? Can we do museum tours? Can we, and I've seen it in the city here, and I've seen it in Vermilion, where actually there's groups in Edmonton that shuttle folks out now on these little mini buses, and they're giving them the experience in our region. So you think an organization in Edmonton is capitalizing on our region for tourism. Well, why not make that opportunity so we can actually have local businesses say, well, we can do this too. Now we have an avenue to get them out here. Now we can do this right from our doorsteps. So I think the value in tourism is one of those things that's always overlooked. When we talk about economic growth, we'll always talk about like the big ones now are AI centers and all the techs, right? But outside of that, we look at industrial growth and all that. But tourism is always a stable component of economic development and growth. And I think this is just by trying to push this forward, brings those opportunities to the people that are going to capitalize on those options.
So we would see more startups.
We truly believe there will be. I think it would be huge opportunities. And we talked about it, both non-Indigenous and Indigenous. And there's just so many opportunities, but you have to get the people here. And people will say, well, build it, they'll come. Now, they got to get here. That's the challenge. And we're talking rail today, we can talk about air tomorrow. That's the piece. When people are traveling and guests, and as a matter of fact, I had guests in our home from Belgium just 2 days ago, and they're going to be back hopefully tomorrow night, and we're going to hopefully take them to the Onion Lake Powwow, because that's an experience like no other, to truly see those dancers, to see the artwork and have that conversation. That's what we need to do. And here's the opportunity. We think we've got a tool, being the rail, to help facilitate that. Air would also help, and every chance we get, because transportation is key. We are in the middle, as we know, that we talk about oil. We're landlocked here. If they come across on a cruise, they go to Vancouver and Victoria. That's where they stop. You get on the East Coast. But to get people here, we've got to either drive them, fly them, or rail them.
And on that point, it's interesting because I was talking to somebody that actually came from Vancouver. They now reside in our community. And so what made you decide to relocate to Vermilion? I don't know if you guys know, it's slightly smaller than Vancouver. And, I expected, it's not as hustle bustle. They were traveling across Canada and they were stopping in small communities. They came in, they saw our downtown, and they said, someday we want to move back there. So opening up transportation, and like you said, it's not just rail, air, any form of transportation. That's why buses are also very important, right? People come and they spend their tourism time here, but there is a group of people that say, you know what? This is actually a pretty nice place. I think this will be a good home. And so that's a value of tourism as well that I know we share in our communities, is people actually come to settle here once they have that experience, or they like it. I'm a good case of that. I'm from Toronto. I said it live now, so now I can't deny it anymore.
There you go. I won't hold it against you.
Thank you.
Well, you're hosting more and more events too. Could it lead to tourism dollars? Could lead to more and more events as well, right? Having the, all of a sudden, because you have more tourism dollars, another hotel pops up.
Yeah.
Another hotel pops up. You're looking at a larger event. You now have the rooms to host that larger event.
That's exactly how I believe we look at it, right? It's, when we have great events in our communities throughout the region, you open up more opportunities for people to attend those. The numbers go up. The events coordinators start to say, let's have more. And you're absolutely right. That's a trickle down effect, right? And then with more hotels, we're going to need more restaurants. And with more restaurants, you're going to need more gas stations and more whatever, right? And maybe not gas if we're talking about trains, but that is the key though, right? The train, having one set of transportation coming to our community, does support all forms of transportation in the community because it draws people in.
Where do we go from here, gentlemen? Do you need help from the
public? I certainly, I would encourage anybody that believes this would be kind of nifty to write to our MPs and write to the Federal Minister of Transport, supporting the proposal to bring Via Rail to the Prairie North CN Prairie North line. We're working diligently. A gentleman I didn't name, he's a retired professional from North Battlefort's been with myself. He like I say, we've had a series of changes of mayors along the route from Yorkton right to Fort Saskatchewan, but I appreciate we circle back. We've got this basis, but public input would be great. And I'll answer this question because I think it's a little different. Mayor Snow has one underpass, and he still has some ground pass roads that get blocked by the train. Folks, the train came before is the reason we're here. The community we live in was established because the train was here, and I know it's frustrating for people in the north end of the city and industrial park dealing with the train, but I can say that the Via train is 17 cars, I think, is roughly what it runs. So it's not that it's going to block 2 or 3 crossings, and it would come through twice a week, each way, east to west, north and west east. So it's not going to add a pile more train traffic. It is just part of it, and talking to people, we've had these conversations, or I certainly have, and I know council members have. They'd love to see an overpass at $80 to $100 million. Just don't have that in chump change and sitting around. And it is a cost that we have to bear, but it is the lifeline, because we wouldn't have the upgrader and the refinery both rail out product every day, and that's huge to us. The grain terminals that we have in and around the community throughout the region that's the bread and butter to this city and to the town and to the county and RMs. That's what drives our economy, folks. And without rail, we'd be a sad state of affairs, I'm afraid. And so I know it's frustrating for people some days caught at the train. I don't have a sure answer for that, but I can say that there are a sign if you're stuck at the rail and it's taking significant amount of time, and I'd say more than 10 minutes, then you need to call the 1-800 number and let them know that, especially if the train does stop moving completely, because they do break down. And again, you likely know this, Kurt, with your family's history, it does happen, and just like anything else, they're diesel powered. There are issues sometimes, and
arguably Via Rail is not going to have as long pauses
No,
at
not even
crossings. So, you know, just in the nature of their service.
Yeah, they're shorter.
They're going to whistle through. If there's no stop, they're going to whistle through.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we'd love to see them get more into the daylight to enjoy the view because, you know, we crossed the North Saskatchewan a couple times on the Prairie North line, a little more rolling parkland versus a little flatter on the CN main line. You know, the Fabian Trestle is incredible, but if you can't see it at night, it's not much of a view.
It's funny. I was just thinking about that. I've been through it at night and at the day. Until I was 18 years old, I could ride for free on VO Rail because Dad was an employee. Dad was an employee.
Yeah.
Whole family could.
Yeah.
I think he still can. So it's
as a former railroader.
Yeah. Am I forgetting anything, gentlemen?
You know, is this a reality? It's not going to happen tomorrow, as we talked about. We're going to keep working at it off the sides of our desk because this is not where I put most of my time, but I'll concentrate a little bit of time. You know, have we invested a lot of money? No, we haven't. I think we contributed a couple $1,000s to help fund the project with the North Battleford, the city of North Battleford, and the BATC at the Battleford Area Tribal Council contributed. You know, but we've got the mayor of Yorkton is really hyper about it. He's excited and he sees the value of it from that perspective. Humboldt just came on the other day, the last couple of weeks, with a letter from their community, their city. So you know we're building, and we hope that that we can make a difference in the lives of people using the rail, especially via rail for all taxpayers in Canada. That it's a betterment at the end of the day, and for our communities and surrounding area, it's a betterment if we can get tourism and economic growth continue to develop each and every day.
And nice to have new mayors like Mr. Snow come on and say it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a whole other part of it too. Just all these communities and just listening to how many communities and municipalities are working together. It's good. It's good for us to work together, right? Too often we're trying to compete for the next best thing, and that competition often is with each other. It's very important for all of our communities to actually come together and say, you know, we're actually better together. We're stronger together. We have a better, stronger voice. And I think this is just a really good exercise in that as well. And, you know, we're doing this with the CN and the via.
Yeah.
Stutter there. Sorry. But, that just showcases how we work together on a multitude of things, right? We take that regional approach very serious, and I know obviously I'm not privy to as much on the Saskatchewan side. We're not a border city, but just all the municipalities on our side, on the Alberta side, and coming together, it's a great opportunity to showcase what it means to work together and to be a region. Yeah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thank you very much.
Well, anything else comes up, we appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah.
It's pretty unique to have a couple of mayors on.
Yeah, thanks for putting this together.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pretty soon we're going to have mayor of Alberta, Lloydminster, and Alberta, Saskatchewan. No, we won't get into that.
Well, I'll see if I can call City Hall, see if I can find the other half and get them over here.
I love those jokes. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us today on Live with Kurt Price, presented by Harris Electric.